1. Participants on the call, including you. You are joining your conference as the host. For a menu of available commands, press *#.
Vicky, can you hear us back there? We're good to go? All right. Good morning, everyone. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Here.
Mr. Franco.
I'm here.
And Mr. Cabrera.
I am here. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, the notice requirements have been satisfied as to the time, place, and date of holding said meeting by posting notice on the bulletin board in Borough Hall and by mailing and emailing same to the Herald of Cape May County on October 4th, 2023, and the Press of Atlantic City on December 13th, 2023. In the event of an emergency, your emergency exit is the door that you came in. Our front left, your back right, or our front right, your front left, just by the American flag. A couple quick announcements. This meeting is being shown live here today on the borough's Facebook page and also the borough's YouTube channel. In the event that you would like to ask a question while we're asking for public comment, you're going to use the dial-in conference line. That number is 888-363-4734, and when prompted, you're going to enter the access code 9699020, followed by the pound or the hashtag. If you watch the recorded version of this meeting and you have a comment you would like to make or a question you would like to ask, you're more than welcome to email our clerk at clerk@wildwoodcrest.org or phone her at 609-729-8040. Madam Clerk, we have no ordinances on the agenda, so I guess we're going to go right to resolutions.
That's correct. The first is authorizing award of professional services contract to Colliers Engineering and Design for professional grant preparation services for the fiscal year 2024 Safe Roads and Streets for All program at the not to exceed sum of $10,000.
Motion. I will second.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing the appointment of Thomas D. Keywood as judge of the municipal court. Effective date is actually June 15th, 2024.
Motion. I will second.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing expenditure to purchase installation of roofs to borough building projects numbers 505-8710, 505-9725, and 505-9726, contract under ESCNJ Cooperative Purchasing Program for the Public Works Department.
Motion. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing refund of property taxes or utilities overpayment made payable to CoreLogic.
Motion. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing refund of property taxes or utilities overpayment made payable to Lisa and Timothy Walsh.
Motion. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
The next five by consent agenda. The first is authorizing refund of beach box rental fee to John Fody in the amount of $480. The next is a beach box rental fee to Vince and Lisa Risavuto in the amount of $480. The next is beach box rental fee to Cheryl Janicelli in the amount of $480. The next is a refund for Pure Playmates camp fee to John and Katarina Holton for $475 for 2024. And lastly is Pure Playmates camp fee to Michelle Gathercole for $525 for 2024.
I'll motion by consensus. I will second.
It's been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolutions be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing a contract with KDI for a 36-month lease contract for one copier printer from July 2024 through June 2027.
Motion. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing a contract award for an amateur sand sculpting contest.
Motion. Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Lastly is authorizing amendment to the 2024 municipal budget to account for additional funding for the fiscal year 2024 Clean Communities Grant.
Motion. I will second.
It's been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Motion that all bills properly authorized as submitted be paid.
Second it?
It's been moved and seconded that all bills properly authorized as submitted be paid. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes. Okay.
Thanks, Trish.
Sure.
Nothing listed under correspondence. We'll go to our first round of public comments before we head into some brief new business discussion items. Public comments, anybody here in the audience? We'll start with anybody here first. All we need is your name. Come on up to the podium. Don't everybody rush at one time. Take your time. Anybody? Anybody in the conference line have any public comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll move right on to new business. Under new business, so first one, newly added Park Mobile sign, I believe that's in the works, right? There's a discussion going on and some
Yes.
revising of all that.
We
Okay.
got that.
3 borough lots, New Jersey Avenue, Park Mobile, or short term. So just to refresh everyone's memory, so in the business district, the 3 lots south of the Brandon's Pancake House is owned by the borough. There is the potential of a new business starting on the corner of Sweetbriar and New Jersey that may, as well as the other businesses, require potentially the need for taking those lots and allowing some parking on them. So if we do that, I think that they would need to be at least put down some sort of gravel or stone if that's permissible. The project for New Jersey Avenue, we're probably a good 2 years away at this point, waiting for we have the infrastructure work to do, as well as the county has some planning that they have to do on their end. So, but in the interim, is there any potential for us to do that? I had sent out an internal note to PD and Public Works to coordinate potentially putting some gravel in there in the event that we need it. There's a planning board meeting tonight that, if that project gets approved, that would potentially require this lot to be stoned. I just wanted any concerns, questions, issues?
Is that a temporary thing, or thought
It-
everything had to be blacktop?
It would be temporary until such time as funding would be available when we would do the project. But I believe that we're able to on our own lots.
Yeah, other municipalities have gravel or rock.
Okay.
You just have an issue with your handicap spots, if you're careful with that. But you can use stone and gravel.
Very good, thank you.
Okay. So I guess, I would say pending, I would suggest if the project is approved tonight, that we authorize Public Works and PD to move forward with, getting that lot gravelled or stoned or clamshelled or something, maybe with some parking bumpers. And I guess the bigger question is would that be a lot that we would potentially charge for Park Mobile and so forth? Because we would have to identify that in the ordinance, or not. Maybe we not, and come back and address it later. That's a conversation that probably needs to be had anyway. But I would suggest we can probably table that until the next meeting, and see how the outcome of tonight's planning board meeting goes.
Does the neighborhood have to be notified for that? Should they be notified for that?
For the parking lot?
Yes.
They were, when we made the acquisition of the lots, they were made, actually, we had this is going back to pre-COVID and even just after, there were some public meetings held where there was some discussion. Actually, the permanent design was revised and tweaked as a result of the neighbors' request for the park. So that basically the parking comes in off of New Jersey Avenue and exits off of Wisteria. Or actually, I'm sorry, it comes in on Wisteria and exits off of, comes in on New Jersey and exit off New Jersey as well.
There's
Okay.
renderings in the room.
Yeah.
There's in and out on Pacific, New Jersey, and then there's one exit off of Wisteria, right?
Yes.
There's in and out on New Jersey, and one exit out.
Yes, okay.
I guess things have changed, because
Right.
when I was on the planning board before, 132 years ago, I can't remember, the recommendation was not to take any lots for parking. That probably changed with designs and everything else that happened. That's the last time I really talked about parking down there.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. I just know that there was lots of discussion going on as to how to design that parking lot, because actually that was the impetus for the borough to purchase those lots.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, 250th birthday committee. So, looking ahead, so 2026 would be the country's 250th birthday. I was thinking that potentially that the borough should appoint, I mean, it sounds like it's a long time away, but it's really not, but we should maybe appoint a committee that can help put together some nice events to celebrate the nation's 250th birthday. I don't know if anyone has any suggestions, or we don't have to address it at this meeting, but at least just wanted to get it out there and have everybody thinking about, putting together a committee. So thinking back when the borough turned 100 years old, that's how we got the name of Centennial Park and so forth, and there was a lot of different events and history shared at that time, and I know this could be something really special. I think we should certainly celebrate it. So I know, and again, sounds like it's a long time away, but the planning and the budgeting for that would needs to happen probably for next year in 2025. So I guess what I would be asking for, if maybe just keep this under old business, and then we can start gauging ideas or maybe some people to kind of spearhead a committee to work with Wildwood Crest to get something special put together.
Kendo?
Corporate donations. So there's been some requests from business owners to sponsor certain things, and I'll kind of highlight some of the things. Maybe there's the holiday display lights that we have along the lakefront during the holiday season. Having business sponsors to help purchase those to help keep our costs down. I've had some requests for people that would like to sponsor maybe an entertainment night at the Centennial Park, concerts coordinated through the Tourism and Recreation Department. I believe there's provisions for us to accept said funds. I'm not sure that process somebody can review all that, but I think going back to when we approved the budget, if there's an opportunity to maybe offset some of the borough's costs, this might be an opportunity to do so. So I didn't know if Francine or Connie you guys shed
I
any
have
light?
pulled the statute before, I can send it out again.
Okay. But I didn't know if that was something that's, I know that that's something that other municipalities do. Me personally, I'm not looking to commercialize the municipality, but I do think that there's an opportunity to, certain expenses and so forth, there's opportunity that the public can enjoy certain events and keep the borough's costs down. It may be worth looking at.
I have a question for you.
Yep.
How would we recognize the donations to from the people? Do you have any idea about that?
No, I think we would need to put together, first identify what is available for corporate donations, and figure out if there needs to be, like, for example, a concert. If someone wanted to bring it, to work with the rec department and sponsor a Grateful Dead tribute band or something, and it's $1,000, and Joe Schiff and Company wants to pay for the Grateful Dead concert. Maybe that night, we can say, this brought to you by Joe Schiff and Company, courtesy of them.
I'd have the Beatles, though.
The Beatles?
Tribute, yeah.
Tribute band? So my point is that $1,000, instead of borough paying for it,
Yeah.
a corporate donor would pay for it.
I'll send you the statute now, and you can start a conversation with that.
I actually like that. That's
I
a
wouldn't
good
have a
idea.
I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Okay. Wildwood Crest Municipal App. So some of this stuff, everybody, is just stuff I had on my notes and follow up. So I just wanted to at least get it on everybody's radar or take it off the radar. But Wildwood Crest Municipal App. So the borough has a Facebook page. The borough has YouTube channel, as I had mentioned earlier in the meeting. We have a website. I get a lot of requests. People say, I never knew, I didn't know the concert was changed. I didn't know that we couldn't go down the street. I didn't know because they don't get certain alerts. And I didn't know if it made sense for the borough to have a customized app so that people can get pushed to. So if you want to know anything Wildwood Crest, right at your cell phone, you just hit the button and everything comes up. And then all the things that we need to keep reminding people, such as no smoking on the beach. Maybe there's requests for something that they want to, if they have a question on something, they can, there's somewhere they can reach out to a catch-all email address so that they can ask a question and we can get back to them. But I know there's been some success in other municipalities that have a specific municipal app. Not trying to overkill what we have, but I just wanted to put it out there, and I think the funding for that could be something, again, maybe through corporate donations or something, somebody could pay for it. But I know that I know we get a lot of requests that come through email, that come through, or a lot of alerts that need to get out and pushed out to the public, that everybody's gathering of information comes from different sources. They may see it on the borough's website, they may see it on the Facebook page, but not everybody has Facebook. But I think pretty much everyone has a cell phone. And as much as everybody loves Wildwood Crest, if they had one app that just tap it and it comes right, all that information comes right up on their app, it might be something to consider. So I don't have all the details. I'm just spitballing, if you will, throwing it out there to see if it makes any sense. We can not do it, or we can dive into it, get some more details, and report back.
Sounds good for me.
All right. Old tourism building use. So hopefully we'll be moving forward at some point with getting our beach patrol into our new beach patrol building. But the old tourism building is the temporary location for the beach patrol administration. So that frees up, when they do move in there, that's going to free up this space. And for planning purposes for 2025, we need to determine what we want to do with that building. And going back to, again, to the budget, when we pass it, the borough should continue to search for miscellaneous revenues. And I think there's an opportunity here for some sort of a lease business out of there the borough could go out to bid for and get some revenues back out of that. And we may need to renovate that building in the inside of it a little bit to make it happen, but I'd rather get it on everyone's agenda now so that if we do the work in-house, that Public Works can plan for it and we can get ready to get some bid specs together for possibly someone taking it over in 2025.
The only thing I'd like to add to that is the garage part of the building facing the beach, the east part. We use as storage, but the other part where we work out of right now, which is our first aid and administrative building, that would be the part you're talking about, would be excellent
Yes.
use.
Yes, we can get into the design of it, but I think the concept is what used to be the Nesbitt Center.
Yes.
Not the storage area, but
Yeah,
I don't know what.
I was gonna hit it for you, but I'd knock you out.
What the heck it is? Getting bit up here. Must have brought it in for my run this morning.
All right, I'm moving over.
Itsy bitsy spider. Yeah.
So, no, but I think, yeah, so I agree, that's the area we're talking about, the area that, used to be where the, what I'll call the visitor center was, and the staff was. That could be a leased out opportunity for some additional revenues.
Yeah, there'd be a building for what we do with the old library section,
Yes,
similar to that.
yes, yeah. So, so I guess my thought would be is, it's listed under old business. Let's think about perhaps what kind of business we would like to see there, but all this is contingent upon how fast we can get Beach Patrol into their new building. So just keep it on the radar, but I just think that we should just get our wheels turned. I think, I don't know, I know that there's a hot dog vendor there. The hot dog vendor may very well want to move inside there, or maybe a surf camp or whatever. There's already some things that are going on there that may want a permanent location as opposed to having portable ones. So, but I think FBS, correct me if I'm wrong, all miscellaneous revenues will help the municipality keep things stable.
Yep.
All right.
Under surplus.
All right, Historical Museum, last thing that I had on my chicken scratch notes, and I asked Madam Clerk to put on the agenda, Historical Museum. So at the rescue building, all of the borough's historical items are being stored in the south side of that building. It's all the stuff that used to be in the Crest Pier when they had the Historical Museum. We were planning on having it, or some area in the Arts Pavilion, but quite frankly, we've all been through there. I don't think there's enough room in there, and it won't work there. So the idea came up perhaps, is that we take that room and make it into a historical area. And just not to mention, there's also the borough's streetlights are also being stored in there. So that area could very well be a combination room of a historical museum and possibly a training facility, training room. I think Rescue maybe mentioned that they needed something to train people in, but right now it's just there's some
Storage.
It's just a storage junk area that I think could have a good purpose, and the school is obviously right there, so the historical items in the school coming over to walk through and see some of the history of the crest would be nice to be on display. Right now it's just in a bunch of boxes, and I know that a lot of the historians and the old historical society members have been waiting for us to find a home for all that stuff, and I thought that would be a good location. Recreation indicated that they potentially, if depending on how fast we did this, for next year I'm talking about, not for this year, could potentially determine and figure the staffing out to at least staff the building, but it's not an everyday, 9 to 5 or whatever. It would have limited hours, but the stuff would be on display, and that we continually to get stuff, but now we would have a home where we could put stuff and create something special out of there.
Yeah, if we're gonna move forward with that idea, I'd like to have Billy Cripps involved with that, any meetings and stuff like that, because he lives there.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm just talking really just concept now, because instead of it being a storage area and stuff being in boxes, you
Yeah,
could
we'll
probably
be
turn it
happy.
into something.
Should be a mixed use.
Yeah, kind of like a mixed use. Any
All right.
thoughts, comments?
I'm good.
Good. Okay. All right, under old business, proposed amendment, time limit parking. So I believe Chief Lloyd and Solicitor Galzunas are working kind of on all things parking and mobile apps and ADA and all that good stuff, right? All right, there's a lot, there's a lot to grasp. Okay. Concession agreement, hotel, that's on hold. Traffic calming is on hold, although we did just do a grant application for some new fixtures. That round of applications will be decided on I think it's in August. Back beach excavations on hold pending the dune project. Dredging, anything, Mr. Franco?
No, Connie, I don't know if any updates on that
I
yet.
have not received any updates since the last one. Met with Genevieve, Clifton, and Scott Douglas a couple weeks ago, and we are still on target. They're still in the permitting phase. They are still going to do phase 2, which is the state channel through Lower Township to Wildwood Crest. It is scheduled for next year. It's not going to be delayed too much by the dredging that's going on right now in North Wildwood, but it will be slightly delayed.
Okay. New Jersey Avenue infrastructure, so I know we're moving closer to that, but that's a 2025 project. Public Works roof, so we can take that off, but we just approved the authorization to move forward with, so that, just to go back to resolution number, what was it? Resolution number 3, I'm sorry, resolution number 3. So that is the Public Works roof, the pickleball courts roof at the restrooms, and the Scoop Taylor roof. All 3 of those are gonna be addressed, but Public Works roof is the priority. And that may very well happen towards the end of August, if they can get the materials in time. Baseline outfalls and capacity bulkhead. So Mark, I think that we all walked away with your presentation at the last meeting with first of all, it was a very nice presentation, very well done. And I think it answered a lot of questions, confirming that the letters that went out to the public, the general letters I'll call it, and then I guess the specific letters, we're holding on those at the moment. Okay. Unofficially, we got word that the borough received, but it's still not 100% final yet, but the borough was approved for 4.1 million.
It went through the first phase, so Congressman Vander's office has been advocating for $4.1 million in a special Homeland Security funding for the pump stations, and that is moving through the process. It's got to go through Congress and it's got to go through the Senate. So we're also working with Cory Booker's office, who's been very helpful, and it looks like, that it's going to proceed through the Senate as well. Then it goes into the federal budget, and the president has to sign off on it. So still a few more phases up. It's looking really positive. It did make it through that first round, which is a really positive thing.
That's good.
Not 100%.
You got Republicans and
That's great
Democrats
news.
working together. They're
Yes.
reaching across the aisle
Yes.
for our benefit,
And I am
which is a
expecting
beautiful
a call
thing.
today from Haddon Antonucci. He did call me yesterday. We didn't catch up, but he did, talk to me briefly about that announcement.
Nice work, Johnny, nice work, Mark, on
Yeah.
that.
All right, Washington Avenue, so we have no final word yet on that from our grant writer, Mr. Rotella. Okay, we're gonna go with our last round. We have a closed session item, so we're gonna go with our last round of public comments. We'll start with anybody here in the audience. Anybody on the conference line? Last round, public comments.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning. My name is Ernie DeSandro.
Hi, Ernie, go ahead with your question.
Okay. I guess I was a little bit surprised. I unfortunately was unable to attend the last public meeting. I know you switched the agenda around with all good intentions because of the way that the audience had participated there, so I think it was good, but it meant that I couldn't be there in time for that meeting. But I did want to ask, it looks like, a few years ago, and I'm talking specifically about the bulkhead ordinance with raising the bulkheads to 8 foot, the application to private owners, right, specifically. And 2 years ago, over 2 years ago, there was plenty of notice. We had a letter that went out to all the residents that in February that announced that there was going to be a meeting at Crest Pier on a Saturday. So there was plenty of notice. There was plenty of accommodations for people to attend the meeting, and we had a very good discussion on the flood mitigation project. Right? And at the end of that meeting, right, we talked about, and I believe Mr. Mayor, you said, hey, if we could punt this, I would want to punt this, raising the bulkhead down the road as far as we can, even maybe past 2030. Right? But then something happened in October of 23, this past October. Something happened where the board, without the same kind of notice and without the same kind of discussion, the board or commissioners, decided to put the ordinance in place. And now I received a letter specifically that talks about FEMA's guidance and NOAA's report for sea level rise, as well as working with the state of New Jersey, and that the state and FEMA have outlined methods for mitigating the effects of the coastal storm. So I'm very aware of all those things. But it's really hard as a private citizen to find that information on FEMA's website, on the state's website, even on the borough's website. And I'd be curious to understand what other recommendations has the state made. So first question is, what happened in October, November that we decided to really, without any public notice, right, compared to 2 years ago, right, compared to the 2 years ago, it seems like, taking advantage of the fall when not a lot of residents or part-time residents like myself are there, right before Thanksgiving, that this ordinance was passed without a lot of notice. So that's my first question. Did something happen?
No, so I want to make sure you understand. So one of the takeaways at that meeting that you referenced at the Crest Pier was the idea of pushing off the mandate, if you will, for private property owners to raise theirs to the same 8, right? So, and another takeaway from that was, hey, Wildwood Crest, you have your own issues you need to address, i.e. the valves, the bulkheads, and the height of the street. So we, as a municipality, agreed with from the takeaway of that meeting and said, okay, we, the borough, are going to raise and address and repair the areas, the public areas that we need to address first, before we mandate anything on the private property owner. So the ordinance that you spoke to that was passed does not have a mandate timeframe. It just basically says that if you do significant improvements to your property, in other words, roughly 50% of the value, you would then need to raise your bulkhead to the 8 feet. Right now, there is no time frame set as to when a private property owner needs to do that.
Yes, thank you for that. I actually am speaking now somehow to the private owners who are making substantial improvements, or who are trying to make the crest more beautiful, right, by purchasing property and raising new structures, that all of a sudden we are putting this ordinance on them, and it's devaluing the value of our properties on the beach. And I know that at the last meeting, we talked about the perfect opportunity to raise your elevation is during a construction, right? That you would somehow bring in 3 feet of topsoil or fill to raise your entire structure to 3 feet for the bulkhead. And these are engineering solutions. But they're not very practical solutions, right? Because what happens to the neighboring properties that are not at that elevation? It's just, I'm not asking for, I'm not saying that it's not the proper and the right thing to do. I'm just asking for there being enough public notice and debate around this issue so that we can talk about a comprehensive solution that includes not just prevention of flood, but how we prepare for flood, and what are the cost benefits of doing all of these things to the private owners. The municipality, when you're fixing the storm drains and the presentation that was done was very informational last week. But there is a picture of what the bulkhead would look like on Columbine Road. Right? And if the residents of Wildwood Crest saw that bulkhead, I'm guessing that people didn't even know that was going to happen. And walk down from Cressy to all the way to Sunset Lake in their morning walk or run will somehow lose that sight of the back bay because there's a bulkhead that is going to prevent that view. And somebody will say, oh, when did that happen? When did that ordinance happen, right? So, we could do so much more for the residents, even mock up what that bulkhead looks like. Instead of looking at it from a drawing, use a piece of plywood, whatever it is, a couple, to demonstrate to the users, to get public notice, say, this is what we're looking for, this is what we're asking for, and what does that happen to the property owners on each side. I just think that we need more debate on the private properties, and we need more information, and we just need to have a more comprehensive study that looks at the values of the properties and the cost-benefit analysis, as well as the value of flood. People have been fighting water since the time of Noah, right? So what's the best way is to not prevent flooding, but to be prepared for flooding. Raise elevations. Don't put things that are not able to get wet on the ground floor. These are what the residents are doing along Park Boulevard, along Lake Road, that, I don't even know how many insurance claims have been made. We referenced that 57 times a year, the flood, roughly the waters go over the 6.7, or they hit 8 8-foot elevation. What happened as a result of that? How many insurance claims were made? How many lives were lost? How much expense did it come to? And we don't have any of that information, right? I happen to live on Lake Road. It's a very personal thing, obviously, as you can tell. My house is elevated. I don't put things on the ground floor that can't get wet. And if they do, I take them outside and I hose them, right? The water comes in and the water goes out.
Let me interrupt you for 1 second. Did you say you live on Lake Road?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so there's no bulkheads being raised here on this project, and the street ends aren't being raised either.
I understand.
It's just valves. It's just you're getting valves.
I understand.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
On Lake Road, on Heather and Lake Road, a brand new construction just happened where that person has a new bulkhead that's at 8-foot elevation because he did a substantial improvement. Obviously, they knocked down that house. And if you remember the house on Heather and Lake Road, it was worth knocking it down, and it made the crest more beautiful. Okay, but that person on that property did not fight or did not try to mitigate, or look for a variance for the bulkhead. That person bought that property, and it's up for rent, right, as an investment, as opposed to people actually live there and deal with that. So I'm looking at there are properties to the left of me that are for sale, where sales are falling through because of the uncertainty around what's going on with the bulkhead. There's a house 2 houses down that wants to make a substantial improvement that I'm aware of, right? That he's going to have an extra $120,000 of expense to raise his bulkhead. And to what end, right? So the question I'm just saying we need more time for debate to put these issues and costs on the table and discuss them as a whole.
Okay.
It's from a private owner standpoint.
Okay, so I'll go back. I'll reiterate. So there is no mandate time frame. So this year is 2024. The FEMA recommendation, I believe, is 2050, which is 27 years away. I think if the borough opts to do, some sort of mandate, we'll certainly listen to any concerns that any property owners have. But again, we're working with FEMA recommendations and so forth. The original intent, if you go back to the Crest Pier meeting, was to move move the timeline faster to do the mandate. We opted to go the other way with it and do the public side first and push everything up. I don't think there's not going to be there's going to have to be some mandate or some requirement of property owners to do that, because the borough can't raise their bulkheads to the 8 without private property owners doing the same thing. Otherwise, that's going to be the breach in the bulkhead where the water will in fact come over at some point in time. So that's what. So we're addressing the borough public side of it first before we do anything on the private property side. And with respect to views, I get views are one thing, and I hear that. But as we're sitting here, we constantly have owners that come to our meetings and say, what are we going to do about and stopping the flooding that are not happening all around town, right? So listen, I think everyone understands we live on a Barrier Island. There's always going to be flooding, but there are things that our infrastructure is outdated. If you heard the presentation at the last meeting, you heard me say that the bulkheads that we are replacing are many years old, and there's 3 layers of dilapidated bulkheads behind there that we're going to replace. So if we're going to touch them, we need to bring them up to the FEMA requirements. That's the decision that we're making. But again, there's no mandate. So I think listen, at the end of the day, if you have more comments and questions, listen, just shoot me a note. We can certainly set up a meeting with our engineer, and we can kind of talk through all the concerns and the issues. But the project, as far as the borough's project, is scheduled to go out to bid here very soon. and construction to start in the fall.
Yeah.
All right, so
Listen, Park Boulevard floods when people have their sprinklers on. That's how bad storm and the roads are. Okay. We're not talking about that, and as has been identified, the primary reason for the flood is the storm drains and the street level. That's been documented. By the engineer. Okay. Bulkheads, admittedly, are a secondary issue. Right. They're the secondary issue, and they're primarily responsible for flood prevention. Right. And I'm just saying we need more debate, and I will set up time with your office. I just don't. I know there's a time limit to these meetings, that you have a closed session. I'm trying to be respectful, but it just feels like while we had a lot of notice to have the first debate 2 years ago, it feels to me like something was done when no one was around.
yeah, you're using the term debate. I'd rather use the term public notice and open and transparent discussions.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, all right, so send me, if you don't mind, send me that email, and we'll set up a meeting, and we can sit down and talk through some of the issues. But again, I just want to, before we leave it, there is no mandate on the private sector, but the public sector part of the project is moving forward.
I'm going to respectfully disagree with that. Like, I think we try to brush it through. There's no mandate for private unless you do substantial improvement. And we're trying to encourage investment we're trying to keep our value of our properties. People are making investments, and they are doing substantial improvement.
Yeah, just say, that ordinance, by the way, that's coming down from the state. That's a requirement from the state. That's not something we sat up here and said, let's create a bulkhead ordinance.
And we backpedaled.
And that's the information that I would like to be shared.
Sure.
I don't know where to find that information.
All right.
I don't know how to find it.
We can certainly get that for you, but it's better. I'd like to have a conversation, and we can, have a more detailed review of all of what you're bringing up today.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Anybody else on the conference line have public comments? Okay, hearing none, we have a motion for we have commissioner comments, if anybody has any comments.
I'm okay for today, Mayor. Excuse me.
And I'm okay as well.
I have just one, the beach hours, we're going full-time, and it starts this Saturday, to let everybody know.
Okay.
All righty?
All right.
10 to 5:30.
All right, we'll take a 3-minute,
Let me just read
Go ahead.
the resolution, sir. Authorizing an executive closed in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, specifically NJSA 10:4-12B, with regard to contract negotiations.
Motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call, Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
yes.
Okay, thank you.